Hello and welcome. I'm Master Lama Rasaji, and this is our Friday Shangri-La edition to Rasaji Speaks. It's not too late. If you're interested and wondering why about 150 people from about 10 different countries for 2 to 3 years get on every Friday to hear the week's lesson. We get in-depth training and philosophy and the psychology of what Tai Chi Gong does to you, does to your life and your family. And then we always leave it open for Q&A for at least 30 minutes to have people a chance to ask particular questions. Sometimes our whole session is Q&A. For less than 50 cents a day, you can join us today. Tell Lama G you're there and comment section. Let me know you're brand new. Mean a lot to us. All right, so today's lesson is our forefathers' vision, reflecting on timeless tapestry of vision. Well, we're in the Dark Power Yuga, and that is the age of energy, movement, and communication. First person you have to learn to communicate with is Abba. We teach people to have an intimate relationship with the Heavenly Father on a daily basis. When you do, your whole world goes different that day. Then we teach teachers to have that kind of relationship with their students. We're teaching business advisories to do that. Most people are really new to communication. At the root of the reason for that, they're not used to being totally present, right? And they're not used to listening, just waiting for their turn to speak, because the only reason they're getting ready to have this conversation is they got an agenda. Sound familiar? So these guys got together, 300 to 400 years ago, and they decided to form a little bit more perfect union, not out of tyranny, monarch, socialism, communism. They decided there were going to be three houses of government to keep the checks and balances balanced. Well, we haven't been doing so well with that, with the trillions of dollars today that we're in debt. But, the things of it is that everything changes when you start to communicate. When you really start to be a diplomat. A good mother and a good father has to listen to their children in order to know the true needs of the child. People get on with me. I listen for 5 or 10 minutes. It's my turn to speak. A lot of times they have trouble listening. Some people have trouble getting on with Lama Ji. People say, "You're intimidating, Lama Ji." Intimidating? I don't know why. My energy is what it is because I have communicated for over 55 to 56 years consciously to the Almighty. Every now and then, I have somebody that's been doing that in an organization for 2 or 3 years, and they're telling me completely how to live my life, how to run my company, how to teach our class, how to invest funds. It's kind of funny. It's actually humorous, but it's borderline egotistical. It just is, right? So when you look at an individual that's been taught to meditate, by the way, which really means to listen, and who has been meditating for over 55 years, about that much in the most previous incarnation, and Lord knows the other incarnation, inspired by an organization that's been teaching people to meditate for 3,000 years. Maybe we've listened to a level that most people don't even know. Obviously, Suryuktaswa listened to a level that he knew we were in the second realm of ascension. He knew we were in Dark Power Yuga. Why is that important? When I started traveling around the country back in 2013 through 19, I talked to several yoga instructors. And when conversations came up about the yuga or the age that we were in, most of them felt that we were still in the Kali Yuga. With all this darkness around, Lamaji, they would say, how in the world do you think we're in the Dark Power Yuga? Well, because during the advancement of the light every day, if you turn on the flashlight where roaches are in the closet, the stronger the light gets, the more you see the roaches and the more that they come out. Ask yourself, there's darkness most of the time on the planet, but how desperate is the darkness? You see it right now coming into this past election. As it got closer, the darkness swore that they were going to be joyful, run a joyous campaign. They couldn't stand themselves. They felt so desperate when they found out they were way behind. They knew the polls were lying, but they didn't want to tell people that they were lying because they're so used to fabricating everything. These guys back here, they didn't want to fabricate anything. They wanted to build something better off of the current results. They no longer wanted to be occupied by a king in England and held in tyranny. They decided they were going to have a democracy approach to build an everlasting republic. But if egos and Congress got in the way, then you had the Senate. And then you had the executive office. And then you also had the Supreme Court. Now, there are certain people today in America and around the world that are leading countries or leading a movement where they feel like they just want to have one party. And they want that party to control all three branches plus the Supreme Court by either stacking the Supreme Court or putting everyone on from their own party, their own agenda. Then what makes them any different than China or Venezuela or Cuba or Russia for many years until these famous words came out of a great president's mouth? Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down. That was huge. That was really a huge statement. Would he do that? Well, I happened to be in India the first and the second time the wall came down in Berlin. You never saw more happy Germans in your life than the people who were living in Germany for 25 to 30 years with this wall up that was put up after the war, right? And the moment that that happened, a melting pot in a way you couldn't believe. It is, and it's still melting. And there's still a blending, a fusion. But there are every day more children waking up. And they understand that this was far from perfect, but it was moving toward a more perfected union. And St. Paul said, now lying aside the dead works of the Christ, let us go on into perfection. Did you know it starts with communication and doing mirror meditation and be honest about your dreams? Don't try to manipulate people. Try to listen to their hearts. And when you team up with a significant other, when you team up with a project and you form alliance, you can't team up with someone without listening. You have to listen. It's called communication. Baraka Bashad, may the blessings be to you and to your glorious family. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Saturday edition of Rasaji Speaks. God bless each and every one of you. Goodbye.